1 year had passed since humans walked away from the Galactic Council. The galaxy had changed more in those 12 months than in the previous century. In the grand hall of what was once the Galactic Council chamber, representatives from 22 spacefaring civilizations gathered, but this was not a council meeting. The council, as it had existed for centuries, was gone. Gregory Miller stood at the center of the chamber, no longer just an ambassador but now the Secretary of Interstellar Relations for the Human Alliance. Beside him stood President Claire Johnson, making her first visit to Concordia Station. "We welcome you to the first assembly of the Interstellar Cooperative," President Johnson announced to the gathered representatives. "Today marks a new beginning for relations between our civilizations." The room looked different. The tiered seating that had once placed some species above others was gone, replaced by a circular arrangement where all representatives sat at the same level. The human delegation occupied no special position, just one section of the circle like everyone else. Former Councillor Meradine, now the Proximan representative to the cooperative, addressed the assembly. "For too long, our relations were built on old power structures and hidden prejudices. The humans showed us the cost of such arrogance when they left. In the year since the human departure, 16 individual species had signed separate treaties with the Human Alliance. These treaties guaranteed fair trade, technological cooperation, and mutual defense. Most importantly, they recognized the full sovereignty of each signatory race. Voxthar watched from a small observer section, no longer a high counselor but merely a representative of his diminished homeworld. His species had resisted the changes too long, clinging to the old council structure until it completely collapsed 3 months ago. "The treaties are before you," Gregory Miller said, gesturing to the data pads on each representative's desk. "The Interstellar Cooperative is founded on principles of mutual respect and benefit. No race holds authority over another. All technological sharing is voluntary, not coerced. All security concerns are addressed equally." The representatives reviewed the documents. Most had already seen and approved preliminary versions. This was largely a formality, the public birth of a new galactic order. Not everyone was pleased. In orbit around Concordia, a small fleet of ships from the former Council hardliners had gathered. 5 species that had benefited most from the old system now faced a greatly diminished role. On the bridge of the lead ship, former Councillor Gentil clicked his mandibles angrily. "They remake the galaxy without our consent," he told his officers. "We should remind them of our power." His ships moved toward Concordia Station, weapon systems powering up. The insectoid commander believed the humans and their allies would back down when faced with military action. The old council races still had powerful fleets after all. "Sir," his sensor officer reported with concern. "Unknown objects detected approaching from multiple vectors." "Human ships?" Gentil asked. "No, sir. Much smaller. Possibly automated platforms." Before Gentil could respond, tiny silver spheres surrounded his fleet. Hundreds of them, each no larger than a small shuttle, took position around every ship. Communication signal came through on all frequencies. "This is Commander Kara Martinez of the Human Alliance Defense Force. Your vessels have entered a restricted zone with weapons active. Power down immediately." Gentil laughed. "These toys do not frighten us, human. We have the most powerful ships in the galaxy. You were warned," came the simple reply. The silver spheres emitted no visible weapon fire, no dramatic beams or projectiles. Instead, the hardliner ships simply went dark. All systems shut down simultaneously. Life support remained active, but weapons, engines, and shields failed completely. Inside the assembly hall, the proceedings continued undisturbed. The representatives had been quietly informed of the situation but shown no alarm. The Human Alliance had promised security, and they had delivered. "How did they do that?" Voxthar whispered to Meradine, who sat nearby. "Defense technology the humans never shared with the Council," she replied. "They developed it while preparing for Protocol Omega. Non-destructive but completely effective. We never knew their true capabilities," Voxthar realized. "That was your mistake," Meradine said softly. "You saw what you expected to see." In the outer regions of what had been Council space, Human ships now patrolled alongside vessels from their treaty partners. The pirate attacks that had plagued the trade routes had virtually disappeared. The human alliance had made restoration of security its first priority. Lisa Wright no longer needed to hide. Now serving as the chief medical liaison between humans and other species, she worked openly in Concordia's main hospital. The vaccine synthesizers functioned perfectly again, and her Centaurian husband Zorn worked alongside her. The supply ships from Earth arrived early, he told her as they walked through the hospital ward. The new medical equipment will be installed by tomorrow. Lisa smiled. The children's ward needs it most. We've had too many young ones suffering while the council debated politics. On the observation deck of the station, Eric Bennett watched the disabled ships being towed away from Concordia. His covert mission had ended 6 months ago when humans officially returned. Now he served as a security advisor, using his knowledge of the station's hidden vulnerabilities to strengthen protections for all residents. "Quite a view," said a voice behind him. It was Gregory Miller. "Secretary Miller," Eric nodded respectfully. "I didn't expect to see you up here." "Needed a moment of quiet before the signing ceremony," Gregory said, looking out at the stars. "1 year ago we took a gamble. We weren't sure how it would play out." "It worked better than expected," Eric noted. Gregory smiled slightly. "Yes and no. We hope to reform the council, not replace it completely. But sometimes you have to tear down to rebuild properly." In the Great Hall, President Johnson and representatives from 22 worlds signed the founding charter of the Interstellar Cooperative. The document stated clearly that all members stood as equals, with humans claiming no special authority despite their central role in creating the new organization. When the formal proceedings ended, Gregory found Lyra Sutton waiting for him outside the chamber. His former assistant had become Earth's new ambassador to the cooperative. "Full circle," she said with a smile. "1 year ago we walked out of this chamber. Now we walk back in, but on very different terms." "Was it worth it?" Gregory asked. "The risk, the hardship many worlds suffered during the transition?" Lyra looked thoughtful. "Sometimes a fever must break before healing can begin. The old system was unsustainable." They watched as representatives from formerly hostile species spoke cordially with each other. Without the council's hierarchy encouraging competition and resentment, new relationships formed based on genuine mutual interest. "Humans needed to be seen for what we truly are," Gregory said. "Not children to be guided, not threats to be contained, but equals with our own strengths and contributions." "And all it took was leaving," Lyra observed. "Sometimes the most powerful statement is simply walking away," Gregory replied. "The galaxy needed to see what it looked like without us." As night fell on Concordia Station, the lights burned brighter than they had in months. Power systems functioned properly again. The habitat rings were fully pressurized. The sound of multiple species conversing, trading, and living together filled the corridors. In his temporary quarters, President Johnson reviewed the day's events with her advisors. "Is this arrangement stable?" she asked Gregory. "Will it last?" "Nothing lasts forever," he answered honestly. "But we've built something better than what came before. Species working together from a position of equality rather than dominance and submission. And the hardliners? Will adjust or become irrelevant," Gregory said. "They have no choice. The galaxy has moved on." As humans and their new allies celebrated the birth of the Interstellar Cooperative, the stars continued their eternal dance outside. The galaxy itself was unchanged, but the relationships within it had been transformed forever. All because one species had finally said, "Enough," and simply walked away. Admiral William Carter stood before the United Earth Council, his uniform crisp despite his obvious exhaustion. The chamber was silent as he presented images from Terra Nova, people lined up for food rations, hospital beds filled with patients who couldn't get proper medicine, Drell warships blocking Earth relief vessels. "It's been 2 weeks since the blockade began," he said. "The colony has started to ration food. Medical supplies are critically low. The Drell ships are turning away everything, even clearly marked medical transports. President Hoffman leaned forward. And diplomatic channels? Ambassador Sanchez shook her head. The Galactic Assembly claims this is an internal Drell security operation. They won't interfere. Won't or can't? Asked Defense Minister Frank Porter. Does it matter? Sanchez replied. The result is the same. 2 million of our people are slowly being strangled, while we file complaints that no one reads. The council room buzzed with angry voices. For 80 years, humanity had tried to play by the rules of a game that was rigged against them. They had accepted restrictions, paid unfair taxes, watched their innovations be classified as restricted technology as soon as they showed promise. There must be something we can do, said Education Secretary Maria Alvarez. We have ships. We have weapons. Admiral Carter's laugh was without humor. Our entire fleet couldn't take down one Drell cruiser, let alone 6. Their technology is centuries ahead of what they allow us to have. What about Project Blackout? Asked President Hoffman. The room fell silent again. Few council members knew the details of the classified project, only that it had been in development for years. Dr. Martinez reports it's ready, Admiral Carter said, but he cautions that once initiated, there's no stopping it, and the aliens will know it was us. Will it save Terra Nova? The President asked. Yes, said the Admiral, but it will also change our position in the galaxy forever, for better or worse. Down in the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Martinez watched the council meeting via secure feed. Beside him, Susan and Kyle waited tensely. They're afraid, Susan observed. They should be, Kyle replied. We're talking about taking on 3 species that were spacefaring before humans invented the wheel. Dr. Martinez removed his glasses. We're not taking them on with ships or guns. We're using the one advantage humans have always had. We understand systems better than they do. The Volari built the foundations of galactic technology thousands of years ago. The others adopted it. No one ever questioned the fundamental architecture. Until us, Susan said. Until us, Martinez agreed. Humans look at systems and see connections, vulnerabilities, ways to make things work better, or ways to make them fail. The secure line buzzed. President Hoffman's face appeared on screen. We need options, Doctor, he said without preamble. We have only one realistic option that saves Terra Nova, Martinez replied. Project Blackout. Explain it to me again. In simple terms, Martinez nodded. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy relies on connected systems. Communications, navigation, finance, energy distribution, manufacturing. These systems all use protocols designed by the Volari thousands of years ago. They've been patched and expanded but never fundamentally redesigned. And you've found weaknesses? We've mapped the entire galactic network. We've identified critical nodes, backdoors, and vulnerabilities. With the right triggers, we can cause cascading failures across all their systems. The President looked troubled. You're talking about shutting down civilization for multiple species. Not permanently, Martinez clarified. Think of it as a pressure point. We apply pressure until they stop choking Terra Nova. Then we offer to help fix what we broke, but on our terms. And if they trace it back to us? Kyle spoke up. They will. No, it's us. But by then it won't matter. Their ships won't fly, their weapons won't fire, their money won't move. The President was silent for a long moment. How soon can you start? Hours, Martinez said. We have teams ready to initiate. At different points, do it, the President ordered. Save our people. On Terra Nova, Governor Wilson received word that 3 relief ships had been destroyed trying to run the Drell blockade. The alien ships had opened fire without warning. Over 200 Earth citizens had died in the attack. He called an emergency meeting with colony leaders. Diane Foster attended, bringing the latest hospital numbers. We lost 6 patients yesterday who would have lived with proper medication, she reported, including 2 children. The room temperature seemed to drop. 2 children. The blockade had killed children. Earth is doing everything they can, the governor said, but his voice lacked conviction. It's not enough, said Mining Director Carley. Evans, we should use the defense platforms. Hit the drill ships before more people die. Our platforms wouldn't dent their shields, Wilson replied. We'd just give them an excuse to attack the surface. Communication Director Sandra Lee cleared her throat. We received a priority message from Earth an hour ago. President Hoffman says to hold on. Help is coming in an unexpected form. What does that mean? Foster asked. I don't know. But they requested we secure all critical systems and prepare for possible network disruptions. In orbit above Terra Nova, Drell Commander, Zex watched the human colony with compound eyes that showed no emotion. The 6 ships of his squadron maintained tight formation, sensors detecting every attempt by the humans to communicate off-world. His second approached. The humans have stopped trying to send ships through our line. They learn quickly, Zex observed. Unlike the Nexians, who required 2 colony extinctions before understanding boundaries, should we proceed with landing operations? The Executive Corps wants those manufacturing facilities intact. Zex considered. No. Another 7 standard days of blockade should weaken their resolve sufficiently. Then we will offer them the choice. Surrender the facilities or watch their population starve. Humans are emotional about their young. They will choose surrender. The Drell ships continued their orbit, their crews confident in their overwhelming technological superiority. Their scanners watched for human ships. Their communication arrays maintained constant contact with the Drell homeworld, 20 light years away. Their navigation systems plotted optimal positions to maintain the blockade. None of them noticed the subtle changes beginning in their network protocols. Small bits of code inserted into routine updates. Tiny alterations to system parameters. Minor routing changes in data packets. These changes had been happening for years, planted by human hackers who understood something the Drell could not. Every system, no matter how advanced, had weaknesses if you looked at it the right way. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Kyle sat at his terminal, lines of code reflecting in his glasses. First phase initiated, he reported. Targeting communication nodes first. Susan monitored a different screen. Navigation protocols accepting our modifications. Defense networks next. Dr. Martinez watched the global map as points of light began to flicker. Each represented a critical alien system beginning to falter. It's working, he said quietly. May, the stars help us all. Around the galaxy, on thousands of ships and hundreds of worlds, the most comprehensive cyber attack in history silently began. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humans were pushed too far. The first signs were small. On the Volari homeworld, a banking terminal froze during a routine transaction. In the Nexian trade hub of Mirar Station, a shipment of luxury goods was routed to the wrong destination. Above Terra Nova, one of Commander Zex's Drell warships reported a minor fluctuation in its power grid. None of these events seemed connected. None seemed important. 6 hours after Project Blackout began, that changed. In the central communications hub of the Galactic Assembly, operators noticed unusual delays in message routing. Within minutes, those delays grew from seconds to minutes. Within an hour, some messages weren't arriving at all. The Volari Central Bank discovered that transactions were failing across 17 systems. Money couldn't move. Trade stopped. Credit accounts became inaccessible. On Drell Colony World 6, automated factory lines began producing components with tiny, almost undetectable flaws. These flaws would make the final products fail after minimal use. In orbit around Terra Nova, Commander Zex received an urgent alert. All ships are experiencing navigation errors, his second reported. The system cannot maintain stable orbit calculations. Zex's compound eyes narrowed. Switch to backup systems. Backup systems are showing the same errors. 2 ships have had to fire maneuvering thrusters to avoid collision. For the first time in his career, Zex felt something close to worry. Contact Homeworld for instructions. Communications are down, Commander. We can't reach anyone beyond our own squadron. From the bridge of his flagship, Zex looked down at Terra Nova. The human colony seemed unchanged. But something was very wrong. His most advanced warships were struggling with basic functions. Target weapons on their main city, he ordered. If this is their doing, they will stop or face extinction. Weapons targeting is offline, came the reply. Power fluctuations are preventing weapons charge. Back on Earth, Susan Wright monitored the effects of Project Blackout from her station. Phase 1 complete. Galactic communications are fragmenting. Phase 2 is hitting their financial networks. Kyle nodded without looking up. Navigation disruptions are spreading faster than expected. The Drell blockade ships can barely maintain position. Dr. Martinez studied the main display where thousands of points of light represented affected systems. Any sign they understand what's happening? Not yet, Susan replied. They're treating these as isolated technical problems. By the time they realize it's a coordinated attack, it will be too late. President Hoffman received hourly updates as the galaxy began to shut down. Admiral Carter stood beside him, watching the reports come in. It's working better than we expected, the Admiral said. Their systems are more vulnerable than they knew. And Terra Nova? Asked the President. The Drell ships are dead in space. They can't maintain weapons lock or stable orbit. We're sending supply ships through their line right now. The blockade is effectively broken. The President nodded slowly. How long before they trace this back to us? Hours at most, the Admiral admitted. But by then, they won't be able to do much about it. Captain Samantha Reed was on the bridge of the Vigilant when the order came. Her ship, along with 5 others, was to escort relief vessels to Terra Nova. The Drell blockade was no longer a threat. How is that possible? Asked Jack Miller. Those are Drell heavy cruisers. I don't know, Reed answered honestly. Orders say their systems are compromised. We're to proceed at full speed and ignore any commands from their vessels. The human fleet jumped to warp speed, covering in hours what would normally take days. When they arrived at Terra Nova, they found the 6 Drell ships drifting in erratic orbits, emergency lights flashing. They're broadcasting distress signals, reported the communications officer. Ignore them, Reed ordered. Get our supply ships to the surface immediately. As the relief ships descended to Terra Nova, Reed opened a channel to Commander Zex's vessel. This is Captain Reed of the Earth Defense Ship Vigilant. Your blockade is broken, your ships are disabled. Leave human space immediately or be destroyed when your systems fail completely. There was a long pause before Zex's reply came. What have you done to our ships? Nothing they haven't deserved, Reed answered. Leave. Now, while you still can. Across the galaxy, the elder species were beginning to understand what was happening. In the Volari High Command, Supreme Director Vrax called an emergency meeting. This is a coordinated attack on our networks, reported the Chief of Security. Systems are failing across all sectors. Who is responsible? Demanded Vrax. We don't know yet, but the patterns suggest. The security chief hesitated. Suggest what? Vrax's voice was dangerously soft. Humans. The attack follows patterns we've seen in human computer architecture. But that's impossible. They don't have this level of technology. Vrax stared at the display showing cascading failures across Volari space. Perhaps we have underestimated them. On Nexian Prime, the ruling council faced similar reports. Banking systems were completely offline. Navigation beacons gave false readings. Communication systems transmitted gibberish or nothing at all. How can humans do this? Asked First Minister Kallax. We restricted their technology. We monitored their development. Perhaps that was our mistake, replied the Minister of Science. We watched what they built, but failed to see what they understood. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Dr. Martinez called for attention. Phase 3 is ready. Do we proceed? President Hoffman's face appeared on the main screen. What does Phase 3 target? Manufacturing systems, Martinez explained. Right now, their ships can't navigate reliably and their communications are spotty. Phase 3 will ensure they can't build replacements or fixes. The President took a deep breath. Do it. Then prepare our message to the Galactic Assembly. Kyle initiated the final phase of Project Blackout. Across the galaxy, Manufacturing centers began receiving corrupted design specifications. Quality control systems approved flawed products. Assembly lines produced components that would fail after minimal use. It's done, Kyle said quietly. Every major production facility for all three species is compromised. Dr. Martinez nodded. Now we wait. President Hoffman stood before the global broadcast system. His message would be sent on the few communication channels humans had left, operational, to the leaders of the Volari, the Nexians, and the Drell Collective. For 80 years, humanity has endured your restrictions, your sanctions, and your contempt. Today, that ends. You are experiencing what happens when humans are pushed too far. Your systems are failing not because we built better technology, but because we understood your technology better than you do. We offer you a choice. Accept humans as equals in the Galactic Assembly, end all technology restrictions on human worlds, establish fair trade agreements, and provide reparations for your exploitative practices. Or watch as your civilizations crumble around you. You have 24 hours to respond. After that, the damage becomes permanent. The message went out. The galaxy listened. And for the first time in millennia, the elder species faced an enemy they couldn't simply overpower with superior technology. Humanity had found their weakness, complexity itself, and exploited it perfectly. 3 days after Project Blackout began, the galactic civilization built over thousands of years teetered on the edge of collapse. Space stations designed to house millions had life support failures. Ships drifted in space, unable to navigate. Food distribution systems broke down on dozens of worlds. On the Volari homeworld, Supreme Director Vrax faced the first food riots in 10,000 years of recorded history. Citizens accustomed to perfect technological reliability could not cope when systems failed. Vrax stared out the window of the High Command Center as smoke rose from the Central District. The humans must be stopped, he told his war council. Prepare a strike force to attack Earth directly. The military commander looked uncomfortable. We cannot, Director. Navigation systems are still compromised. Our ships cannot jump safely. Even if they could reach Earth, weapons targeting is unreliable. Then send word through the old channels, Vrax ordered. Lightspeed communications, courier ships, whatever still works. To say what, Director? Vrax's face darkened. That we will not negotiate with terrorists. On Nexian Prime, the ruling council took a different approach. First Minister Kallax called an emergency meeting with their best system architects. How are they doing this? He demanded. How can humans bypass our security so completely? The chief architect, an elderly Nexian with faded blue scales, spoke hesitantly. We believed our systems secure because they were complex, but it seems the humans understood that complexity better than we did. Can you stop them? Not quickly, the architect admitted. They have inserted their code too deeply through too many access points. We would need to rebuild our entire network architecture. How long would that take? Years, perhaps decades, Kallax hissed in frustration. We don't have years. We have days at most before our civilization begins to truly break down. On Terra Nova, the situation had dramatically improved. The relief ships had delivered critical supplies. The Drell blockade ships had limped away, barely able to maintain basic life support. Governor Wilson called a meeting with Earth representatives who had arrived with the supplies. What exactly did Earth do? He asked. How did we defeat 6 Drell warships without firing a shot? Captain Reed, who had led the relief convoy, chose her words carefully. Project Blackout, that's all I can say. But it's not just the ships above. Terra Nova. It's happening across the galaxy. The entire galaxy? Wilson looked shocked. We attacked all 3 elder species at once? They left us no choice, Reed said simply. They were willing to let our people die. Now they know we can do the same to them. Diane Foster, who had joined the meeting, spoke up. The patients who were critical are stabilizing. The medical supplies arrived just in time. She paused. But hundreds died who didn't have to. Who will answer for that? The Drell will, Reed promised. One way or another. In the hidden facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Martinez and his team worked around the clock. They monitored the failing alien systems, adjusted the attack parameters, and ensured that Project Blackout maintained its grip on the galaxy. The Volari are attempting to rebuild their communication network, Susan reported. They're using ancient technology predating their modern systems. Let them, Martinez said. Lightspeed communications won't help them coordinate a response across multiple star systems. By the time a message reaches its destination, the situation will have changed. Kyle looked up from his terminal. The Drell are trying something new. They're attempting to isolate key systems from the network. Will it work? Martinez asked. Not well enough, Kyle replied. Their systems were designed to be connected. Isolating them makes them almost useless. President Hoffman received the latest update in the White House Situation Room. Ambassador Sanchez had just returned from an emergency meeting with the alien representatives on Earth. Unlike their homeworlds, the alien embassies on Earth still had functioning technology, allowed by Project Blackout to maintain communication channels. The Volari are threatening military action, Sanchez reported. The Nexians are less aggressive, but equally resistant to our demands. The Drell representative refused to meet with me at all. And what about the smaller species? Hoffman asked. The ones who also suffered under the elder species rules? They're watching carefully. Some have unofficially reached out to express support for human actions, though they're afraid to do so publicly. Admiral Carter studied the global map showing the spread of Project Blackout. The effects are accelerating faster than we anticipated. Major transport hubs are completely offline. Financial systems have frozen trillions in assets. Food distribution networks are failing on urban worlds. Are we causing civilian deaths? The president asked directly. The room fell silent. Finally, Dr. Martinez, connected via secure link, answered. Not directly. We targeted infrastructure, not life support. But the longer this continues, the more likely secondary effects will cause casualties. Their systems are more interdependent than even we realized. The president nodded gravely. Then we need to push harder. We can't give them time to adapt. 24 hours after President Hoffman's ultimatum, a response finally came. It was not what Earth had hoped for. A joint declaration from the three elder species denounced the criminal cyber terrorism of humanity and demanded an immediate end to the attacks. They offered no concessions, no recognition of equality, not even an acknowledgement of the Terra Nova blockade. They still don't understand, Ambassador Sanchez said after reading the declaration. They think we'll back down if they sound stern enough. Then we need to make our point clearer, the president decided. Dr. Martinez, implement the final phase. In the Rocky Mountain facility, Martinez gave the order. Activate the blackout. Protocol. Full spectrum. Susan and Kyle exchanged glances before entering their authorization codes. Across the galaxy, what remained of the alien networks collapsed completely. Emergency systems that had remained partially functional went dark. Backup power systems failed. Navigation beacons sent ships veering off course. On the main communication channel that Earth had kept open, President Hoffman delivered his response to the elder species. You have rejected our reasonable demands. You still fail to understand your situation. Let me be clear. Humanity can sustain this shutdown indefinitely. Can your civilization say the same? To demonstrate our resolve, we have just activated the final phase of Project Blackout. What you experienced before was a warning. This is the consequence. Our terms remain unchanged. Equal standing in the Galactic Assembly. End of technology. Restrictions. Fair trade. Reparations for past abuses. We will wait 24 more hours. After that, there may not be functioning governments left to negotiate with. The message ended. Across Earth, humans watched and waited. They had just challenged the three most powerful civilizations in known space. On the Drell command ship, now drifting near their homeworld with minimal systems, Commander Zex received the human message. His compound eyes reflected the emergency, lighting as he turned to his second. Contact the executive corps. Tell them. He paused, the words difficult for a Drell to form. Tell them we must negotiate with the humans. 6 months after Project Blackout began, humanity celebrated the signing of the Restoration Accords. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly, once reserved only for the elder species, President Hoffman sat as an equal with Supreme Director Vrax of the Volari, First Minister Kallax of the Nexians, and Executive Corps Leader Zith of the Drell. It had taken just 5 days of total system failure for the elder species to agree to human demands. When faced with the complete collapse of their civilizations, even their pride gave way to survival. Captain Samantha Reed watched the ceremony from her new office in the Joint Defense Command. Her promotion to admiral had come quickly after Terra Nova, along with responsibility for overseeing the new security agreements between humanity and their former oppressors. "Never thought I'd see this day," Jack Miller said, now her chief of staff. "Humans dictating terms to the Volari." "We didn't win through force," Reed reminded him. "We won through understanding." The terms of the Accords were simple but revolutionary. Humanity received full membership in the Galactic Assembly with equal voting rights. All technology restrictions on human worlds were lifted. Trade agreements were rewritten to ensure fair exchange of goods and knowledge. And substantial reparations were paid to human colonies that had suffered under alien restrictions. Most importantly, the elder species agreed to joint oversight of critical systems. No longer would the Volari alone control the technology that ran the galaxy. Humans would have equal access and input. On Terra Nova, the changes were immediately visible. The colony flourished under Governor Laura Bishop, who had replaced Paul Wilson after he stepped down for health reasons. The quantum communication array was finally completed, giving humans instantaneous contact across the galaxy, independent of alien networks. Diane Foster, now head of the colony's expanded medical system, greeted a Drell medical team landing at the main spaceport. The former enemies had come to share advanced treatments as part of the reparations agreement. "6 months ago, your ships were blocking medicine from reaching us," she told the Drell medical director. "Now you bring it yourselves." "Much has changed," the Drell replied simply. His compound eyes showed no emotion, but his posture conveyed something like respect. In the Rocky Mountain facility, now officially renamed the Galactic Systems Institute, Dr. Martinez led a mixed team of human and alien scientists. Their mission was to rebuild the galaxy's networks, but with new safeguards and shared control. "The key is balance," he explained to a group of Volari engineers who still seemed uncomfortable working with humans. "Your systems were elegant but vulnerable because no one questioned their design. We bring a fresh perspective." Susan Wright, now the Institute's security director, maintained a careful watch over the rebuilding process. "Trust but verify," she often said. Her team made sure that no species, including humans, could gain exclusive control over critical systems again. Kyle Johnson had become something of a celebrity among the younger Nexians, who were fascinated by his ability to understand their complex code structures. He found their interest amusing but used it to build bridges between the once separate species. "Humans don't have better brains," he told his alien students. "We just think differently. We see patterns where you see processes. Together we can build something better than either of us could alone." President Hoffman walked the grounds of the Galactic Assembly, now open to humans for the first time. Ambassador Sanchez guided him through the ancient halls where decisions affecting trillions of lives were made. "They're still watching us," Sanchez noted quietly. "Still waiting for us to make a mistake." "Let them watch," Hoffman replied. "We've earned our place here." Later that day, in a private meeting with the leaders of the elder species, Hoffman addressed the lingering tension directly. "I understand your hesitation to fully trust us," he told them. "We brought your civilizations to their knees. But remember why we did it. Not for power, not for territory, but because you left us no choice." Supreme Director Vrax of the Volari inclined his head slightly. "The lesson has been instructive. For thousands of years we believed technological superiority ensured our dominance. We failed to consider that understanding technology could be more powerful than possessing it." First Minister Kallax of the HFY Nexians added, The question remains, how do we move forward without fear? Your Project Blackout could be reactivated at any time. It could, Hoffman agreed. Just as your fleets could target our worlds, just as the Drell could blockade our colonies again. Peace is always a choice. We choose it today. Will you? The meeting ended with cautious agreement. The new balance of power was uncomfortable for all involved, but it held promise for a better future. 1 year after the crisis began, Earth hosted the first galactic science and cultural exchange. Representatives from all species shared knowledge, art, and ideas freely for the first time. Dr. Martinez presented a paper on system security co-authored with Volari and Nexian colleagues. Kyle Johnson demonstrated new interface designs that worked equally well for human and alien users. Admiral Reed gave the opening address. A year ago, humans were considered barely worthy of notice in galactic affairs. Today we stand as equals, not because we built bigger ships or more powerful weapons, but because we understood what others had built and saw its weaknesses. She paused, looking over the mixed audience of humans and aliens. The lesson for all species is clear. True strength lies not in creating systems others cannot access, but in building systems that work for everyone. Not in hoarding knowledge, but in sharing it. Not in dominance, but in partnership. After the ceremony, Reed stood with Martinez on a balcony overlooking the gathering. Below them, humans and aliens mingled, still somewhat awkwardly but with growing comfort. "Do you think it will last?" she asked quietly. Martinez watched as Kyle demonstrated something to a group of young Drell, making them flutter their wing cases in their version of laughter. "It has to," he said. "We showed them we could shut down the galaxy. Now we have to show them why they should want to share it with us." In the night sky above Earth, ships from a dozen species moved in carefully coordinated patterns. The galaxy continued to spin. But now humans had their rightful place among the stars, not as newcomers to be tolerated, but as equals to be respected. The day humanity snapped had changed everything, and the galaxy was better for it.